This is Scott McDonald of Dr. Demographics, and today we're going to talk on a subject of a changing factor that seems to be rising in importance across the United States among doctors who are trying to find where to purchase a practice or where to develop one from scratch. Now, it's always great, of course, if you can find a location that is not going to cost you very much or there's very low competition, where the employment is looking great, or where it's just going to be a naturally great demographic factor because of growth or whatever. Those places are few and far between. So there is a factor right now that seems to be particularly on the rise that I want to talk to you about. And that is, well, it's affordability. Now, implied in affordability are those factors that are kind of coming together that make it so that you won't have to risk as much money and credit in setting up a practice or buying a practice that might be available to you. The affordable factors include, though, things like the price of the lease, but it also includes the price of marketing. Is it possible? Is it easy to get a large number of patients to come into your office? It is not necessarily something that is easy, but some areas are much easier than others. In some places, finding staff who is willing to come in is particularly important and useful to you. So those are the factors on our lists of why places are doing better and why they are more desirable for practices or doctors to go to. Some people ask, where are the smart people seeking locations to practice? And increasingly, surveys reveal that one word keeps coming to the top, and that is affordability. Is it acceptable how fast we can make money and return our investments? And that is really determined by affordability. Affordability trumps what people with money and education want most in their places to live and also the places to work. We're finding a lot of people don't want to have long commutes because the price of energy, gasoline, is really expensive. And so locations that are easy to get to make a lot of sense. Places that have a job market that is easily and readily available, or where people can come into existing housing affordably. That's what people seem to be wanting. I'll talk about where to go and where to consider as we go along. Now, it's been revealed that affordability is what the smart money is really seeking. I'm not saying everybody wants that. They want to go to some place that's cool or where the people are beautiful. It's by the ocean, lovely skiing, whatever. But really, affordability seems to be the most important aspect of where to purchase or where to start up a practice. This is the big change from the historic trends. There was a time in which people used to talk to me about having a place by the beach or a place by some recreational facilities, or where they just thought, it's glamorous. That's not so true anymore. People want to be able to go affordable because that is where they can get the best return on their hard-earned dollars. And they're considering their dollars are harder earned now than ever. But it's understandable given the economic uncertainty. And that's the key word. It's economic uncertainty that we're going through right now. Now, Prudential Financial are the people who kind of prepared the data for me on this, and they're shouting why this trend of housing and business development is gaining traction. There are good reasons why Prudential Financial is saying affordability is king. First of all, there's a major panic over inflation. It's a major factor, and you all know it. Everybody's worried about the rising price of getting into practice. The interest rates are likely to increase very quickly. And the Federal Reserve Bank has been stating, guys, we're going to raise interest rates every time we get an opportunity, which just makes things a lot riskier. Remember, you have to pay that money back. And if you cannot, it's not a good investment. So the affordable issue is king. Everyone is becoming risk averse. So affordability is the natural answer. There were people who were not risk averse back in the 80s and 90s. And well, a lot of them lost their shirts, very smart people. And I'm assuming that same thing is happening right now. So aversion to risk is a key factor in the way people are selecting where to put their practice. which means places that are very risky, and you know where those places are losing. They're not just losing a little, they're losing a lot. Now, what are the implications? Well, lenders and investors are rediscovering pragmatism. Places that were where the pretty people were are not so important anymore. People are saying, well, it looks like a reasonable risk. When they say reasonable, that's what they mean by pragmatism. The cool factor of where to go is kind of dead. Remember, there was a time in which Beverly Hills and Scarsdale and others around the country were definitely where you wanted to go. Places that had the big city, dense urban populations that were kind of romantic were important. Not so much anymore. So here's what the cool factor dying means. It means rediscovering investments, or pardon me, recovering your investments is going to take a lot longer than it once did. And they have more risk. Real estate and professional practices in particular are a safe income source. That's why it's not hard to find lenders who'll give you money. The problem is, will they give you the money at a reasonable rate? That's part of the idea about that pragmatism we're talking about. People are voting with their feet. And so a lot of people are taking off and moving to locations, not only where they want to live, but places they can afford to live and recover an investment. That's what they mean by voting with their feet. Political winds are changing this year. And I presume that after July, maybe earlier, you're going to see a lot of people that were once thinking, well, no, we can stick it out, who are going to say, I got to get out of here. And I got to get out of here now. And so there are going to be some fire sales on practices and real estate that you're going to want to be aware of. But it's not going to happen, I think, until after July or August. But it's going to happen. So no one wants to live in large, dense cities anymore. They're considered too risky. And even the whole states where places seem to be a good idea, people are reconsidering. Now, I don't necessarily think it's a thing that won't change, because if you miss the window of opportunity, it will open up again. Just isn't going to happen super fast, but it happens. So be patient. Employers are taking their cues from their workforce. So it used to be that major metropolitan areas were the ones that you wanted to consider going to. At this time, employers are considering, where are the people going? And that's where we're setting up our businesses. Because of the great abandonment or realignment, people are not willing to go to places, business-wise, where it's risky to hire employees at a high rate. So they're looking for places that the people who are cheap are moving. Practices must follow their growing patient bases. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody is going one direction or another, but practices that are really smart are still looking for those places that are showing new residents, new growth, new construction. And those are the places that people are voting with their feet. Practices want to follow those patient bases and set up near them as close as possible, because right now, long commutes are really a bad idea. Now, practices must follow these patient bases because there are other places where the population is likely to shrink. We haven't seen that in a while, but there is a trend in some places where there may actually be negative growth. You don't want to be there. That just reduces the value of your practice. Follow the rental vans. Now, I often mention U-Haul and Ryder trucks. They have a database, and they're showing you where people are going to set up and where they're moving to. You want to know those places. Now, you may ask, like in the comic books, which way do they go? Which way do they go? Well, that's where you want to go. I don't care how cool one place might be. I want you to know where everybody else is going. And I'm talking about residents and employees, not other competition. That's where you want to set up. Where are those places? There are 4 of them that I'm going to talk about. The first one is the Appalachians, and this is actually proving to be the best. It's West Pennsylvania and Tennessee. There's hardly a place in Tennessee that isn't doing well. I am not extending that to Kentucky, by the way. But if you look at the Appalachians, this is where people on the east coast of the United States are moving into and setting up for the long term. Large employers are setting up here because it's cheap to hire people who live in the Appalachians. The second place are the Rockies, which contain 4 states: Utah, Colorado, Idaho, and northern Arizona, not all of Arizona. Now, Utah has traditionally been good on the north. Southern Utah, and that would include Cedar City, Hurricane, St. George, doing pretty well. Colorado is doing well, with the possible exception of Greater Denver. Colorado Springs, Pueblo. Look, a lot of people are going to Colorado because of the affordability of properties. Idaho has always been good, but particularly on the west side. And this would be Greater Boise, not just Boise, but any place in Ada County or in that region is doing pretty well. I'm not suggesting Rexburg or Idaho Falls, but I'm just saying Idaho is not a bad investment. Northern Arizona is looking like kind of a no-fail place to go. The Gulf Coast, Texas to Florida, is a big geographic area, but all along it, and that includes states like Alabama and Mississippi, are showing significant growth because they're affordable. Now, Alabama and Mississippi don't have the highest education level. They're not the richest, but for that reason, they're affordable. Georgia, particularly on the west part of Georgia, not on the coast, is looking pretty darn good too. And the Great Lakes region, surprisingly, has made a comeback. Minnesota, Wisconsin, parts of Michigan, and Ohio are looking good. Yeah, I like Columbus. I always have. But these are the places that you have to consider if you want to go places that are affordable in which to practice. So I hope you'll give them a shot. If you want to get the facts on a location and kind of share with us your thinking, please consider giving us a call. DrDemographics.com. And by the way, we have a new 800 number, which will be available on the website very soon. Please give us a call. Do a telephone consultation. It's not very expensive, but the benefits you receive by getting the facts is by far much more valuable than taking a shot in the dark. We've got the facts, we have the statistics, and we're watching the trends on your behalf. So if we can help you out, please don't hesitate to contact us. This is Scott McDonald at Dr. Demographics. I look forward to talking to you later. Bye-bye.